Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizer. And the self-service repair industry just got a little more friendly with Microsoft. Microsoft is making it much easier to repair your Xbox controllers now, provided that you've got the guts to do it yourself. Because if you've ever tried to repair a controller, it's a nightmare of springs and levers and everything. Done it myself. I'm pretty sure Nick's done it. It's not something we ever want to repeat again because it just doesn't ever fit right when you're done with it. But that's beyond what we're talking about. But so if you have a broken controller or an Elite controller from Xbox, you can now repair it. Microsoft is selling replacement parts on the official store, including thumbsticks, buttons, top cases. So previously, if you'd broken any of that, you're stuck, with third-party parts, which you could still get them. You can get those. I've seen plenty of people 3D printing them and all that stuff. You can get them, and they were pretty costly. But now they're going to have to compete with Microsoft for OEM. So prices for these parts vary depending on what you're trying to get. A top case for the Elite Series 2 is, what was it, like $67, somewhere in that. It's a little bit more than what the cost of a regular controller is, though, mind you, but that's a little expensive. And the top case only comes in black, so you're not going to get the white one or get any cool colors or anything like that. It's just, whatever it is. Microsoft is doing something that Sony's not. Will Sony jump on board with this? We don't know. Microsoft has been making this move a little bit with other stuff too, because I think they did a similar announcement for their Surface devices, which I don't know who wants to replace anything on a Surface. Those are a nightmare to get into and, break apart and put back together. But, it's a good thing. People need to be able to repair their own stuff. I shouldn't be stuck sending everything I own to Microsoft, let them fill it, or throwing it in the trash and getting a new one because I can't repair it or it can't be repaired. And so this is a good thing for self-service maintaining of your own equipment. So I think customers have the right to DIY repair and repair their equipment themselves. And this is just a right step in that direction. A lot of companies out there are against doing stuff like this because they're losing money, right? If Microsoft was the only one that could repair their controller, they've got the monopoly on that market and they don't have to do anything. But they are playing ball. I'm pretty sure they're being pressured. They usually are being pressured by groups or other types of things, but it also looks very consumer friendly from them doing something like this. So if you're a fan of DIY repairing of your own equipment, this is good news for you. You can now buy parts for your controllers. Now we need to be able to start buying parts for our consoles, right? You start selling that stuff out, right? You just start fixing our own stuff, but it's a step in the right direction because an Elite 2 controller is damned expensive. And I've got a dead one on my desk that has a bad trigger. So maybe I'll get to go online and see how much that part is. And if I feel like taking apart a ticking time bomb, that just explodes into hundreds of little pieces and springs and screws everywhere when I try to gently take that case apart, no matter how gently you are, one piece always gets away and you'll never find it. Nick, what do you think about this? You got some controllers around that need fixing?
I do. There's Switch controllers and some PlayStation controllers. I don't think I have any Xbox controllers that I can think of that are broken, that need fixing. But Switch controllers and PlayStation controllers, yes, I do have those. This is something Nintendo needs to do because how many the little nunchucks, or not the nunchucks, I'm going back to the Wii.
Joy-Cons.
The Joy-Cons have the drift on them. I got two. I think all four of my Joy-Cons drift. So, because I got 2 sets, and I think all 4 of them drift. The original set drift worse than the other ones, but still. This is great. I mean, this is great for anybody. I have fixed a PlayStation 4 controller, and I have fixed an Xbox controller. And yes, I don't like doing it because they are a pain. It's easy to take them apart, but putting them back together is not fun, because more than likely you'll probably set something wrong or something like that. And you get it all back together and you're like, that trigger doesn't seem right, or that, button seems a little off. And then you have to take the whole thing apart again because you messed up somewhere. I don't know how many times I've done that, especially like, I'm not sure which one's worse, the PlayStation or the Xbox to take apart. Xbox does have little springs, or the PlayStation has little springs in them. And so does the Xbox. I'm not sure which one was worse to take apart and put back together, but they both suck. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation, right? Because Microsoft can sell the parts. Like you said, you can get the parts third party. The people who are going to go out and fix their own controllers, we're going to do this anyway, right? They were going to go third party, find the part, bring it, fix it themselves anyway. The people that don't want to do that, we're going to go out and buy a new controller, right? So even if you can do this, I think those people that were going to go out and buy a new controller will probably more than likely still go out and buy a new controller. And the people that were going to fix it themselves anyway, now they might just say, hey, I can go straight to the manufacturer. I don't need to get like a piece that, Bob cut in his garage that I can order and hope it fits. I can just get one straight from the source. So now I'll just go on there and do it, right? Because these DIY individuals, they were going to do that anyway, right? They were going to fix it themselves anyway. They weren't going to go out and buy a new controller or anything. They were going to open it up and try to resolve it. So, and if it can't be resolved, they're ultimately going to buy a new controller. But they were going to do that first, or buy third-party parts to fix it. So why not sell the parts to those individuals, right? Why not say, hey, you can just come to me. I'm the source. I'll give you the parts for that. Great. And now hopefully Sony will follow suit, but I'm really hoping Nintendo will follow suit. Because I mean, I use the Pro Controller with my Nintendo, but if you wanted to use or play a game that requires you to use the Joy-Con, like I would probably have to go out and buy another set of Joy-Cons. Because I have, like I said, I have two sets. So I have 4 Joy-Cons, 2 lefts, 2 rights, and all 4 of them have stick drift. So, but yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a win-win for the consumer on this. It looks really nice for the consumer. Microsoft's been doing really good of giving the being consumer friendly. And that's great. That really brings the consumer. It really makes the consumer feel good about the company that they're supporting or buying things from, in that sense, if they're continuing to be consumer friendly, right? Sony has been not so consumer friendly, but neither has Nintendo, right? I mean, they've all been kind of very closed off, and it's our way or the highway, but they are the top dogs. Nintendo is in its own right, and so is Sony. So Xbox kind of has to do these things. Hopefully this isn't something just to get, good favor by the consumer, but just to make a change in the industry for DIY stuff. Because I know, it was a while back, there was that whole thing with, even cell phones and stuff, like you had to go to, like you couldn't, even with cell phones, you can't replace the batteries now. Right. And that's one thing I hate about newer cell phones is that I can't take the battery out and put a new battery in it. I mean, because after a while, the batteries get worse and worse. You end up having my phone, granted, I've had my phone for a couple of years, but it's now to the point where I'm on it a lot, granted, but I have to charge it at least twice a day, if I use it a lot, which I usually do. I have to charge it twice a day. Whereas before, when I originally had it, I didn't have to charge it till the end of the day or maybe sometime the next day. Right. And that's just wear and tear on the battery, but I can't do anything about it, as the battery gets worse. And that's one thing I don't like about PlayStation controllers in general. I love the PlayStation, the DualSense controller. I think it's a great controller. I like the PlayStation 4 controllers. But one of my biggest issue, I have PlayStation 4 controllers, and you know what their biggest problem is? They don't hold a charge at all. I can't charge them. The only way I could play it is plugging it in and keeping it that way. Otherwise, it will not hold a charge. And I can't do anything about it. I can't take the battery out and replace it and be like, okay, this controller is ready to go. It's just a dead controller now, And I have some that are not the original ones, that are like different colors and stuff like that I really like from the PlayStation 4 that I can't do anything with because they just don't hold a charge anymore. And it sucks. I wish I could take them out and, I probably could get a third party battery or something like that. But I don't know how the batteries are installed in those. I can't remember when I took apart one of the PlayStation 4. I think it's just in the back, like just connected in the back of it. But still, though, I mean, you could buy a third party battery, but, I'd rather buy it from the source if I have the option to do so. So, yeah, but this is good.
It is. And yeah, it sucks, right? Because eventually what ends up happening with those controllers is you break the port, the USB, the micro USB port, because it's freaking sticking out of the front of the controller and you're playing it and it's just putting weight on the end of that. Eventually you break the pins and it no longer does anything. I've got a few of those for my PlayStation 4 controllers that are running around as well, that they don't do anything anymore because I can't plug it in and the pins broke. So I could get in and do repair on it, and replace the batteries. But at that point, I'm like so over it. I'm like, whatever. Use ones, this is really good for sustainability, right? Because those people who are not going to pay Microsoft or one of their repair shops to repair an Elite 2 controller, for example, which is a pretty pricey controller, but once you put parts and labor in it, you're right up against that or more. They're like, I'm just going to buy a new one and throw this thing in the trash can. And some people will probably, like Nick said, a lot of people will probably still do that, but there'll be a market now out there for the used controllers. Cause then I could just go, well, I'll sell this to somebody for $10. It don't work. I mean, it works, but the trigger's broke or something. I'll sell it to you for $20. Somebody's going to buy it for $20, put another, $30 worth of parts in it and sell it, especially if it's a Elite controller, and sell it for $100 or something, make yourself a profit or something, it'll keep it out of the landfill for sure, and so that's a good thing for sustainability. And it feeds right into that, fair repair or right to repair stuff that's out there. Now, from what I understand, Microsoft did not entirely do this out of the goodness of their heart. I guess they have a activist group that is a pretty large shareholder that basically came in and said, you need to do something like this. I guess the activist group is called As You Sow, SOW. So I guess they had brought up a provision to the board and they said something needs to be done about this. And I guess this was back from 2021. That's how long ago this was. And Microsoft created a group to look into this and decide, okay, we'll do something about it. And so this is some of the things coming out of that. And the Microsoft Surface Repair was part of that provision. So all this right to repair and stuff is coming out of that whole slew that came out of that group. So we have them to help thank for this, that we can now repair it. It's been so long now, though, it looks like Microsoft is just trying to be pro-consumer, but it's part of a provision from that As You Sow group's intervention, which is what we need a little bit more of, right? I mean, this is something good that activists do. Most of the time you hear about activists doing stupid shit and they're doing batshit crazy stuff, but these guys are a decent sized shareholder and brought some stuff to the board and got changes enacted, which is good. Good changes, I should say, not bad changes like the board usually does. Board changes usually screw over the employees and everything and get their own thing, own agendas crossed instead of this. So I think this is good. And it should give Microsoft a little bit more money. Now they get some of those parts sales instead of those third party resellers. So I think it's a win for Microsoft. It's a win for us. So win-win. You got anything else, Nick, before I go try to fix this Elite 2 controller?
Good luck.
It's probably going to explode as soon as I take it apart. Just spring everywhere.
All the parts just go everywhere. No, I just hope that Sony and Nintendo follow suit. Maybe this activist group has a considerable share in those companies as well. Probably not, but or some other activist group that can make them do some more consumer friendly stuff over there. Also, it's what was I gonna say? Well, no, I can't remember. There was some good point about. But yeah, I mean, this is good all around. So hopefully they'll follow suit, like I said, over at Sony and Nintendo, because they really could use something like that, especially Nintendo, right? Nintendo's had a big problem with their Joy-Cons for quite some time and really hasn't done anything about it. So they need something to be able to approach that.
Yeah, which I wonder what's happening with all those lawsuits with the Joy-Cons. I've not looked into those in a while, but there was quite a few lawsuits against Nintendo for the Joy-Cons. My Joy-Cons are useless. I have to play with the Pro Controller right now. So
yeah, mine are too, unfortunately.
So don't want to play with those. They'll ruin my gaming experience, you know. So so let us know what you think. What do you think about this what I would consider pro consumer right to repair that Microsoft's rolling out on their Surface and then on their controllers? You got some broken controllers you want to fix now, you know? And what do you think about this? And if you're not subscribed, we've reached the end. Hit that subscription button because we know you like listening to us talk. You made it all the way to the end. You know, hit that like button too. Let us know. Put some comments down in there. Tell us what you think. And then hit that bell for notifications so you can stay up to date when we put out new videos. And we hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.